Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Um, I was just wondering if you could start by just giving a brief introduction and telling us a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, my wife Susan and I are the leaders of the Salvation Army in Central Oklahoma. This is our third year here in this role, and we've overall have 31 years of service
Wow.
as officers in the Salvation Army. And the overall mission of the Salvation Army is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and meet human needs in his name without discrimination. And every word of that is very important. And here at the Center of Hope, where I'm spend much of my time in Oklahoma City, we do food and shelter. So we are a food pantry affiliated with the food bank, shelter for persons experiencing homelessness. We provide energy aid, other financial assistance, and so forth.
Awesome. And so how did you hear about upper room germicidal UV technology?
Well, our first encounter that I remember was about 25 years ago, somewhere in the mid-90s. Susan and I were with the Salvation Army in South Central Mississippi. And the state of Mississippi, if I recall correctly, came to us and offered and did provide ultraviolet lights to use in our shelter there in Laurel, Mississippi. At that time, I think the focus was on drug-resistant TB. And so I first got acquainted there, a few decades ago.
Right. Awesome. And then so with COVID, how did you encounter it? Or were you the person to bring it up, or did someone approach you about it again this time around, or?
Yeah, so keeping in touch with the news and the information that was flowing out seemed like hourly back in the spring. Yeah. The concept would come up from time to time, but particularly it honed in as it went on, and more concern about whether there was an airborne component to the spread, and that ultraviolet could be particularly relevant there. And then the next tier, since very early when the pandemic became a local situation for us in Oklahoma, a ad hoc group of persons providing agencies providing services to the homeless were meeting daily at the start and continued frequently. And those metro shelter directors, somewhere along the line, there was an outreach between those folks and the START Coalition, which really brought it to us in a concrete form.
Nice.
And we got connected with the START Coalition there, who then provided experts like Dr. Paul Jensen, who came and evaluated our facilities and operations and made recommendations.
Right. And so throughout this, 25-year time period, how did you become convinced that UR-GUV was a good solution for your organization?
Yeah, well, of course, I had zero expert knowledge and, that much novice knowledge about the technology and the application. And so I was envisioning different ways of that it might apply to us. And so it really took that expertise to make it concrete. I thought, that in the ventilation system might be relevant to us. And I thought potentially it could be the solution everywhere. We have here in Oklahoma City in our shelter, we have 13 rooms, family rooms, with bunk beds. At our shelter in Norman, just south of here, we have rooms with bunk beds. And because of the height of the ceiling, in those rooms. The upper room, ultraviolet is not a solution there. I was
Right.
in other areas of the building and less densely populated. And while we might have been able to install it, it wasn't really the grade A solution for those places. And then the areas where it could be applied, then it got prioritized into tiers 1, 2, and 3, and we've addressed those first and second tier priorities in what we've got installed. And so looking at hearing what those experts brought into us, and the opportunities and what it would take, and doing a little independent research, and not going much further than looking at the basic synopses of
Right.
but I saw that this was not a few individuals that were touting this, but it's been
Yeah, it's
used
sort of been
around
like
the
tried and
world,
trusted.
yeah, and tested and widely found to be applicable.
Right, for sure. And then so along those lines too, in your facilities, how long did the installation process take from start to finish?
Yeah, once it got to the point of the fixtures were in town, it was really just a couple of weeks
Wow.
to get. Well, again, we had two tiers. We did the priority 1, and that took a couple of weeks. And then after that got in and got settled, we looked around and said, there's really some other areas that we'd also like to address. And that was maybe another week
Okay.
to get those in.
Yeah, so not too bad.
No.
And so I feel like you had kind of hinted at this with the mentioning the bunk beds, but what was the commissioning process like? Did they have people come in taking measurements in specific rooms, determining what was appropriate and what was not?
Yeah, so it was, what impressed me was how detailed it was, how painstaking, how thorough
Right.
it was. Going through all the measurements every couple of feet, back and
Right.
forth, side to side, and adjusting the fixtures and turning them all off but one, and then turning them all back on, and doing each one of them individually and doing all of them together and so forth. So a couple of our folks actually participated in the legwork of doing that, but we had the expert who led the way and got it done.
Right.
So I don't know, overall that may have been the most hours involved.
Right.
The
Yeah.
actual commissioning and the measurement and the adjustments.
And so if you feel comfortable sharing, do you know how much it costs your organization?
Yeah, so our direct cost has been about $38,000 plus the time that our staff put in assisting with mounting the fixtures and holding the meter and so forth. But we also benefited greatly from the START Coalition, which absorbed the professional cost of the evaluation and design, along with much of the cost of the electrical installation.
Right. And so how have your clients reacted to the installation of the lights? Is anyone worried about it, or do some people have peace of mind because of their presence? What's kind of been the reaction?
Yeah, I'd start with overall reaction to the overall health precautions, and that's been positive. So it hasn't been as much people coming forward speaking about individual things, elements of it, but people feel appreciation and feel a level of safety overall. And this is a place where people are home for a time being, and they can't arrange things individually. we're open. We've continued to be open for new admissions. Most of our folks are in dormitory situations.
Okay.
So they're they're around other people, and most people have been appreciative. Meaning, if there have been any comments, they've been positive. They've been appreciative about that the fact that we're looking out for each other, and they can see that.
Right.
And in particular, the UV lights are a visible sign that we are looking out for each
Right.
other. And there have been, some individual comments. We haven't taken a survey or anything, but there have been some comments about the lights themselves, and folks who said they're glad they're there, and they appreciate them.
Huh. And so, yeah, so not a lot of skepticism, like people feel
No,
convinced by the.
haven't heard any at all. There have been a few questions about, or not even questions so much, but about comments about, UV could be dangerous. We put up some simple signs that ultraviolet lights are in use, and don't be hanging around at 7.5 feet off the ground for hours at a time, and so forth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so folks recognize that it's there, but it's there at a safe level.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you guys have taken a lot of good precautions to make people
Yeah.
aware that they're there, but also that they are safe.
Yeah, and I'd even say that the word of mouth from the commissioning process, meaning that there are people here, and will continue to be people here who either participated in that or saw it happening, and so they can see the care that went
Right.
into how these things have been set up.
Yeah. And also, if you feel comfortable sharing, have you guys had any cases of COVID-19? Do you feel like this has been go ahead?
So our county's now at 30.4 new daily cases per 100,000 people. And there was, I don't remember our first date, but we went some months without a case in our facility. But that has caught up with us, and from time to time we find out that we do have cases. We have great community health partners in an agency called Healing Hands, and they're able to come periodically and do testing. So we've had, as recently as this past Wednesday, when those tests were done, we found that we had 4 positives among our guests. We're also grateful there that those shelter directors meetings and partners in town came up with a community solution to continue to look after people. We don't have the facility here, the room and the space where we can put people in isolation for any extended time. But we do have another resource in town at an alternate care homeless shelter at the city rescue, where we're able to refer folks, and they're able to continue to get good care and looked after medically, and taken care of.
That's great. That's good that you guys have that alternate care site for isolation. That's really important. So I have one final question. Have you guys implemented any other layers in your space, whether it be like masks, hand washing, social distance? I know you said you did testing with the clinic Healing Hands.
Healing.
What else do you guys have going on to keep people safe?
Yeah. Well, I have Other than being in this sort of role in a local community, I've been in financial administration with the Salvation Army. And you think about financial controls and where you start against controlling against fraud and error is tone at the top. And so we've started with an emphasis to leadership in every area, that they need to set the tone, that they are following good health practices, and that they're setting the example for those that they lead. So I myself walk around, I see how things are going. I know as an individual, I'm kind of in a bubble, and in a lot of areas, people kind of pay more attention, but I'm monitoring that and how folks are doing. I'm communicating. I'm going around. We're throwing all sorts of signs on the walls about health practices. Started back in February with hand washing and social distancing, and then when the instructions came out from the CDC about the value of face coverings in situations where you can't socially distance, which is a shelter,
Right.
that we've made that part of our practice. We broke up or cohorted the meal service so that the people in this area who are already together are eating at one time, and the people in this area are eating at one time, and the families are eating at one time. So there's less opportunity for person-to-person transmission between those groups. Lots of emails have gone out to our staff. We've worked really hard ourselves and with partners at making sure we have the supplies, the soap, the hand sanitizer, the mask, and that those are provided. Doing the daily health monitoring in the dormitories. Went to head-to-toe sleeping to, increase the distance between persons breathing in there. We hung up barriers between adjoining beds consisting of shower curtains to reduce the flow of air between there. And I'd add there that, as part of the UV practice or implementation, we learned about the importance of air mixing. And so we've got the air handlers, the fans constantly on now, so that air is in constant motion. In food service, we went to disposable supplies to, eliminate the risk of transference of fomites in that way. For those folks who come to our front door for the community meal, which is to go since middle of March, we provide a hand washing station. I mentioned the testing that Healing Hands has to do with us, but so we have the alternate care shelter opportunity for residents. We have we tell our staff that when they're ill, when they have possible symptoms, to stay home, and we back that up by affirming and supporting them in doing so. Another element that we learned about was the opportunity to use air filtration. And so where the density of people or the ceiling height or whatever made upper room ultraviolet not the right solution, then we found that we were able to put MERV 13 air filters in place, which have some effectiveness in reducing airborne transmission. We set aside a couple of rooms in the shelter for short-term quarantine as needs arise. And again, I'd come back to just our other partners in town, United Way, other direct providers of services, and it's really a group who's working together. to look out for those that we all care about serving and making sure that they have the best opportunity to come through this safe and sound.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you guys have taken tons and tons of steps for prevention. So that's really, really amazing that you've been able to do all those different things.
Yeah, I mean,
Major Ellis, is there?
And I think
Oh, go ahead.
we had back in the spring a nursing class took this on as a project, doing research, and they were providing first daily and now weekly updates, so that if we're not on top of the latest releases from the CDC and others, they are shooting us a newsletter with all the updates and highlighting them. You know, there's a lot of information that's organizations have provided, and people are helping to get it to folks like us to implement it.
Right. Sounds very collaborative. It's really great.
Very much.
Yeah.
It's there's been a joyful side to this in people pulling together.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so great. Great to hear. Is there anything else you'd like to add besides these questions that we've asked you? I don't know if you have any other additional thoughts.
Yeah, I get lost at questions like that. So,
I mean, it's very open-ended, so no pressure.
Yeah, I'm not good at open-ended, so you can cut me off there.
Me either. So
yeah,
what'd you say?
Yeah, I guess, you know, I guess leading on. So further thoughts. You know, we're very mindful about addressing the current situation. We have no idea what's going to happen in 2 months, 3 months, a year, what the situation is going to be. So we really felt like it was important for us to prepare for what might be a long haul situation, even going forward, potentially from now. But we're also grateful that we have this technology and other experience and procedures in place now, because this is going to help diminish the spread of other diseases.
Right.
We think we're going to have less flu in this building over the winter.
Yeah. That's super important. Hopefully reducing, the burden in other areas. That's really great. Well, I think that's all from us. So I think we can go ahead and sign off now. Thanks so much, Major Ellis, for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And we wish you all the best in the coming months.
Thank you.
Of course.